They were toasting champagne in the waiting room while my wife bled out. My secretary, my in-laws, celebrating her death before her heart even stopped beating. They didn't know about the triplets. The fluorescent lights of the delivery room flickered, like dying stars as Sarah's grip weakened around my hand. Her face, once radiant with the glow of impending motherhood, had turned ashen, her lips barely moving as she struggled to form words that her failing body could no longer carry. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice a threadbare ghost of itself. "Promise me. Promise me you'll love them enough for both of us." "Don't talk like that," I choked out, my throat closing around the words. "You're going to be fine. We're going to raise them together, just like we planned." But even as I said it, I could see the truth in the doctor's eyes, in the frantic movements of the nurses, in the monitors that screamed warnings in their urgent electronic language. Something had gone catastrophically wrong. Sarah had always wanted to be a mother. It was the dream that had lit up her eyes from the moment. We met at that coffee shop 5 years ago, when she'd been volunteering at a children's literacy program, and I'd been a struggling architect trying to make my first big pitch. She'd dropped her stack of picture books. I'd helped her pick them up, and somehow in that moment of scattered pages and nervous laughter, I'd known she was the one. Our wedding had been small, but perfect. Just our closest friends and family in her parents' backyard, under strings of lights that made everything look like a fairy tale. Her mother had cried. Her father had given the most embarrassing speech about how I'd better treat his daughter right, and Sarah had glowed with a happiness so pure it made my chest ache. When she'd told me she was pregnant 3 months ago, I'd lifted her off her feet and spun her around our tiny apartment until she'd laughed and begged me to stop because she was getting dizzy. We'd spent that whole night talking about names, about nursery colors, about whether our child would have her green eyes or my brown ones. We'd never imagined there would be 3 of them. The ultrasound at 12 weeks had revealed the truth. Triplets. The doctor had explained the risks, the complications, the statistical probabilities that made my blood run cold. But Sarah had squeezed my hand and smiled that stubborn smile I'd fallen in love with. "We can do this," she'd said. "I can do this." And I'd believed her. God help me, I'd believed her. Now, as the monitors shrieked and the medical team converged around her, I realized that belief had been the cruelest lie I'd ever told myself. "Mr. Morrison, we need you to step outside," a nurse said, her hand firm on my shoulder. "No, I'm not leaving her." "Sir, please, let us do our job." Sarah's eyes found mine one last time, wide and frightened, and so very young. She was only 28. We were supposed to grow old watching our children grow up, become grandparents together, sit on a porch somewhere, and remember all of this as a distant scare. "I love you," I mouthed to her. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Always," she mouthed back. Then the doors swung shut between us, and I was alone in the hallway with the antiseptic smell and the distant sound of someone else's baby, crying, and the terrible, crushing weight of my own helplessness. I don't know how long I stood there. Time had become meaningless, measured only in the hammering of my heart, and the prayers I sent to a God I wasn't sure was listening. The waiting room was down the hall, and as I stumbled toward it in a daze, I heard them before I saw them. Laughter, my mother-in-law's voice, sharp with vindication. "I told you she wasn't strong enough for this. Too fragile, that girl. Always has been." My father-in-law, gruff and matter-of-fact. "Well, at least Daniel will be free now. Can find himself a proper wife. One who can actually handle things." And then, cutting through everything else like a knife, came a voice I knew too well. A voice that made my stomach turn and my fists clench. "Maybe now we can finally be together properly, Daniel and me," Lisa purred. "No more sneaking around. No more lies." I stood frozen at the entrance to the waiting room, unable to process what I was hearing. My in-laws sat on one side, their faces showing more relief than concern. And there, perched on the edge of a chair like she belonged there, was Lisa, my secretary, the woman who'd been making increasingly aggressive advances for the past 6 months, the woman I'd planned to fire after Sarah gave birth because her behavior had become so inappropriate. "What the hell is going on here?" My voice came out as a roar that made all of them jump. My mother-in-law had the decency to look slightly ashamed, but she recovered quickly. "Daniel, darling, we were just what? Celebrating? My wife is fighting for her life in there, and you're sitting out here celebrating?" "Now, son," my father-in-law started, standing up with his hands raised placatingly. Nobody's celebrating anything. We're just being realistic. Sarah was never cut out for motherhood. The stress of it, the physical demands. Get out! The words came out cold and flat. All of you, get out of this hospital right now. Lisa stood up, her expression shifting to something she probably thought was sympathetic. Daniel, I know you're upset. But how dare you? I breathed, advancing on her. How dare you come here? How dare you speak her name? How dare you exist in the same building where my wife is dying? You always said your marriage was a mistake, Lisa said, her voice turning shrill. You told me you married too young, that you weren't sure anymore. I never said any of that. Not once. Every conversation we had, I talked about Sarah, about how much I loved her, about how excited we were for the babies. You heard what you wanted to hear. The fury in me was a living thing now, burning away the numbness, the fear, replacing it with a rage so pure it was almost cleansing. A security guard appeared at my shoulder. Sir, is there a problem here? Yes, I said, not taking my eyes off the three people who just revealed themselves as strangers. These people are not family. They're not welcome here. I want them escorted out immediately. My mother-in-law's face flushed red. We're Sarah's parents. You can't. I can, and I am. You don't get to sit here and wish her dead. You don't get to plan your celebration while she's fighting to live. Get out, or I'll have you arrested for trespassing. The security guard, bless him, stepped forward with authority. Folks, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I watched them go. Lisa throwing me wounded looks over her shoulder. My in-laws muttering about ingratitude and disrespect. I felt nothing but a cold, clarifying hatred. Whatever happened now, whatever came next, those bridges were burned beyond repair. I returned to my vigil outside the delivery room, sliding down the wall to sit on the cold linoleum floor. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time had lost all meaning in this fluorescent purgatory. When the doors finally opened, I scrambled to my feet, my heart in my throat. The doctor who emerged looked exhausted, her scrubs stained, her face unreadable. Mr. Morrison, she said quietly, I need you to come with me. Sarah, is she? Please, come with me. She led me to a small consultation room, the kind where they deliver bad news. I'd seen enough medical dramas to know what this meant. My legs felt like water as I sank into a chair. I'm so sorry, the doctor began, and those 3 words shattered whatever was left of my world. We did everything we could. There was an amniotic fluid embolism. It's rare, unpredictable, and often fatal. By the time we realized what was happening, she kept talking, medical terms washing over me like a foreign language. Respiratory failure, cardiac arrest, massive hemorrhaging. Words that meant my Sarah was gone. Words that meant the love of my life, my best friend. The woman who was supposed to grow old with me had been stolen away in a matter of hours. The babies, I heard myself ask, though my voice sounded like it was coming from very far away. The doctor's expression softened slightly. That's what I need to talk to you about. Against all odds, we were able to deliver them safely. 3 girls, Mr. Morrison. Tiny, but stable. They're in the NICU now, being monitored, but the preliminary prognosis is good. 3 girls. Sarah had always hoped for girls. She'd already picked out names. Emma, Grace, and Lily. Named after her grandmothers and her favorite flower. Can I see her? Sarah? Of course. And then, when you're ready, you can meet your daughters. They'd cleaned Sarah up, made her look peaceful. She could have been sleeping, except for the terrible stillness of her chest, the absence of breath. I pulled a chair close to the bed and took her cold hand in mine. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you. I'm so sorry you don't get to meet them, to hold them, to watch them grow up. The tears came then, hot and blinding, shaking my whole body with the force of my grief. I pressed my forehead against her hand and sobbed until I had nothing left. I promise you, I finally managed, my voice hoarse and broken. I promise I'll love them enough for both of us. I'll tell them every day how much you wanted them, how brave you were, how much you loved them even though you never got to hold them. They'll know you, Sarah. I swear they'll know you. A nurse appeared in the doorway, her expression gentle. Mr. Morrison, your daughters are asking for you. Babies can't ask for anything, I said dully. She smiled. No, but they're crying, and sometimes that's the same thing. They need their father. I stood on shaky legs, pressing one last kiss to Sarah's forehead. I have to go meet our girls now, I told her. But I'll be back. I promise I'll be back. The NICU was warm and dimly lit, full of the soft beeping of monitors and the gentle whoosh of ventilators. The nurse led me to 3 isolettes in a row, each containing a tiny, perfect miracle. We've been calling them Baby A, B, and C, the nurse explained. But I'm sure you'll want to give them proper names. I stared down at 3 identical little faces, their features miniature and delicate. They had Sarah's nose, I realized, and possibly her chin. It was too early to tell about the eyes. Emma, I said, pointing to the first isolette. Grace, indicating the second. And Lily, touching the third gently. Beautiful names, the nurse said softly. As if on cue, Emma began to fuss, her tiny fists waving. Without thinking, I reached in, marveling at how small she was, how fragile. The nurse helped me pick her up properly, supporting her head, and suddenly I was holding my daughter for the first time. She quieted immediately, her little body relaxing against my chest. I could feel her heartbeat, rapid and strong, a counterpoint to my own. "Hello, Emma," I whispered. "I'm your daddy. I'm so sorry your mommy isn't here to meet you. She wanted to so badly. She loved you so much." And then, because apparently the universe hadn't finished breaking my heart, Grace started crying too. And then Lily. The nurse brought them over one by one until I was surrounded by my daughters. These 3 tiny pieces of Sarah that she'd given her life to bring into the world. They looked up at me with unfocused newborn eyes, depending on me completely, trusting me absolutely. The weight of that trust was crushing and uplifting all at once. "Okay," I told them, my voice steadier than I felt. "Okay, we're going to figure this out together. I don't know how to be a single father to triplets. I don't know how to do any of this without your mom. But we're going to learn. And we're going to be okay. Because that's what she would want. That's what she died to give us." In that moment, sitting in the NICU at 3 in the morning, holding 3 tiny lives that were now my entire world, I made a choice. I could let the grief consume me. Let the betrayal of my in-laws and Lisa's delusions poison everything. Or I could honor Sarah's sacrifice by being the father these girls deserved, by building them a life filled with love and laughter and stories about the incredible woman who'd given them life. "Your mother," I told them softly, "was the strongest, bravest, most beautiful person I've ever known. And every day, I'm going to make sure you know that too. Every single day." Emma yawned, a movement so tiny and perfect it made my chest ache. Grace's little hand closed around my finger with surprising strength. Lily just stared at me with those serious newborn eyes, as if she understood every word. And somewhere, I like to think, Sarah was watching us, proud of her girls, trusting me to do this impossible thing. I would not let her down. The road ahead would be hard. Lone parent to triplets, dealing with my grief, protecting my daughters from grandparents who'd shown their true colors, finding a way to build a life from the wreckage of my shattered dreams. But as I sat there with my 3 miracles, I felt something besides the grief and rage. I felt purpose. I felt love. I felt, for the first time since Sarah's hand had gone slack in mine, a reason to keep breathing. "We're going to be okay," I promised them again. All of us, together. And in the gentle darkness of the NICU, surrounded by the soft sounds of new life, I chose to believe it.